Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So, this is the live stream that I do Sunday nights. I guess this has probably been like about the 20th one now. It's been going on for a bit. Anyways, it's called Into the Progverse. Basically, it's originally was just called Into the Progressive Rock Universe, but I just shortened it because it's easier to do. And besides, I'm not really good at spelling. So tonight's topic is going to be Jethro Tull. I haven't talked much about Tull lately, so I decided that it's time to kind of go over what I have in my collection. It's one of my biggest collections, if not, maybe only Rush might exceed it, and I don't even think they exceed it. I think this is probably my biggest collection in my stack. I've got all the Tull albums from the debut album right through to the final album, with the exception of the Christmas album. And the only reason I don't own it is because I've never seen it. I don't even know what it looks like. And I could guess I could go online and order it, but I'm not really big on that either. I'm not good at waiting for stuff to come in the mail, and it usually costs you more than it's worth anyways. So maybe I can turn this light up a bit. It seems a bit dark. I don't see the it's bad. It doesn't matter. We'll muddle through with what we have. So I have hey, everybody's joining me at the same time. Welcome to the show, Grandizer, and welcome to the show, Ben. And if I could find my glasses, I would be able to see better. I thought I had them. They seem to have disappeared. Oh, here they are. I hid them behind the stack. I can see what's going on there. Otherwise, I'm just a... Yeah, got to go through the collection here. I thought I would do it today. I had another topic in mind, but I thought, you know what? I haven't done the Jethro Tull, and I want to do a album ranking of Tull by the end of the year. So I guess maybe this is just kind of a warm up. Yeah, I got to blame the government for just about everything in this country. So I'm glad to have you guys aboard. And so the topic, in case it needs revision, is my Jethro Tull collection. So I have all of their studio albums, with the exception of the Christmas album, which I've already said. And I have a couple of greatest hits, I guess you might call them. I, for some reason, don't have anything live by them, which is kind of odd. I have listened to a couple of live things that I like by them, but for some reason, I've never gotten any. Not really sure why. They're a good band live, too. So definitely something I'll have to look into. Anyways, we're going to go through this chronologically from their first album to their last album. Just kind of talk like I normally do, talk about what it is I like about the album, what I may not like about the album, what things I know about the album, what songs are among my favorite, that kind of stuff. Nothing too grandiose here. So their first album is called This Was. I kind of don't really know what's happening here on this cover. It's a bunch of dogs and these four old guys. Well, it's actually the guys in the band, but they made up to look old. So I'm not really sure what the purpose of this was. It's kind of a weird cover, you know. If anybody's got any ideas of what they were trying to do here, I'd be curious to know. 9 songs in total on here, including the song for Jeffrey, which is, to me, one of their best songs. Yeah, the rest of this stuff is a little bit more bluesy, this album, than you would get going forward. This was, of course, debuting in it says 68 on it, but I know it wasn't. I know it came out in 69. The Chrysalises is the record label they're on at this point, and produced by Terry Ellis and Jethro Tull. So this is kind of the only kind of album by Jethro Tull that isn't dominated totally by him. Mick Abrams is also on here doing his thing as well. There are the boys. A couple more pictures in here of some of the other boys. So yeah, so it to me, this album is a bit of an outlier, kind of bluesy, and not completely dominated by Ian Anderson, although there's probably a little bit of a friction between him and Mick. I don't think it was a terrible amount of friction. I didn't get that impression anyways. I just think Mick ended up going off on his own and doing his own thing with another band. And then, of course, Ian took over. So that's their debut album, released in 1969, and the first one here. Yeah, you know what? That would make perfect sense, Grandizer. I can actually believe that they would do something like that. The second album up, much better, in my opinion. A much better album, Stand Up. One of their better early albums, too, I think. This one, you've got some of that leftover hangover of bluesy stuff going on. It's still there, but some of the progressive stuff and the also the folky stuff coming in here. Not too much, but a little bit. Yeah, this also has another Jeffrey goes to Lancaster Square, so I like to write them Jeffrey songs back then. Also has Bourrée, which is really good, and brings in Martin Barre on guitar. And you can't go wrong with that move. That was an excellent move, really set them up nicely. And of course, Fat Man, which is probably my favorite track on here. Really quite good. Another produced by Terry Ellis and Ian Anderson for Chrysalis. So yeah, good album. This one, I believe, came out in 1970. It says 73 here, but I know that's wrong. I don't pay too much attention to what it says on the back of the Jethro Tull albums. It often puts dates on there that doesn't make really any sense. But this is a strong second album, or a sophomore album, right? Only 4. I think this may be the only album in the 70s by Tull that had only 4 members. Or the first one had 4 too, but it was in the 60s. So yeah, strong album. I like it. I like the artwork quite a bit. Not so sure I like the back artwork as much, but I still like it. Really strong album. Jethro Tull's Stand Up, their second album. The third album, they make a big jump here. This album, I don't necessarily think it's a better album than Stand Up, but it has more depth to it. There's more to it. It's starting to sound more like the Tull that we come to love. Has nothing on this album is really a standout song. Like you're not going to find it in their greatest hits or anything like that. There's just a lot of really solid stuff here. This also has Michael Collins, Jeffrey, and Me, another Jeffrey song. He likes them Jeffrey songs. The album cover is kind of interesting too. You get the 4 members and then the 4 of them in almost like cutout stand-up mode, if you like. This album has a kind of a I would say more of a folky sound to it than its predecessor. Also has a little bit more of a progressive element to it than the predecessor. A strong album, but not necessarily as well known an album as some of their other stuff to come forward, but a good one. So this came out, I believe, at the end of 1970, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was early 71, I'm not sure, but I think it was the end of 1970 for Benefit, which is their third studio album. Then they make the colossal jump here as many of you will have, of course, know, this is Aqualung. Of course, this is some consider their magnus opus. Jethro Tull's a little unusual in this area. Usually, most bands have that one magnus opus album and then some really good albums and stuff like that, but they reach a pinnacle when they get to their magnus opus. This is kind of like that, but some people would argue that Thick as a Brick is that album, or maybe much later stuff that came out at the end of the decade might be their best album. So definitely a little bit different than a lot of other bands. This one, of course, is a masterpiece, no doubt about it. The cover is really good. Artwork is fantastic. It's a well put together album in a lot of regards. A very Okay, I'll put this up. I didn't want it here in my face, but I'll put it up if you think that if it's bothering you. It might be because the microphone is a little bit further away. Anyways, yeah, so some really good, strong songs on this. Some of Jethro Tull's best work on this album. Lots of stuff that got lots of radio airplay. Stuff, of course, the title track is their most well-known song. I don't think there'd be much debate about that. Cross-Eyed Mary, another great song. Mother Goose, probably my favorite on the album for sure. And then you've got some of the more deeper cut. Oh, and of course, this also has Locomotive Breath, another huge hit for them. So they had a couple of really big hits on this album. You have some songs like Hymn 54, My God, Up to Me, Wondering Aloud. These are all really solid Jethro Tulls, and Wind Up, of course, a couple of different versions of Wind Up on this album. This one comes with this particular album, like so many Jethro Tull albums now, comes with an extra bonus tracks on it. Usually stuff that they recorded at the same time but never released with the album. So they've begun to do that, and they probably are the kings of that, really. Oh, your internet's acting up. I'm sorry to hear that. Anyways, some really strong stuff here. Probably many of these tracks have been among my favorite Jethro Tull tracks, and I think that would probably across the board fit most people who like Tull would cite this if not their favorite album, at least in the top 5 of their favorite albums by Tull. So that's their 4th studio album. The next album up is not one of their studio albums, but Living in the Past, which I love. This is a collection album or a compilation album, if you prefer. Songs from various albums, plus you have some B-sides that were never released, some other stuff that were only released as singles. Lots of really good stuff on this. One of the best compilation albums out there, I think. Living in the Past is it. So the song Living in the Past was one of their first releases, never was on an album, is now here. My favorite Jethro Tull song is on this album. Life is a Long Song. It's not on any of their studio albums. It only comes out as part of this Living in the Past. I also have it on another collection that I have. Definitely my favorite track by them, easily. But this is just proliferated with all early stuff that I like, Witch's Promise is on here. You have Wondering Again, which was on one of their earlier albums. Locomotive Breath, of course, we know that from Aqualung. Sweet Dream, another great tune. Yeah, there's just so many good tracks on this album. I like sometimes just to pull this out. I kind of like the cover a bit too. It's kind of archaic, maybe a little bit medieval feeling to it. Yeah, great album. So up next is, some people would say, their magnus opus, at least for the progressive side. This is much more progressive than anything they'd done before this. Thick as a Brick. 2 songs, really on one album. This also comes with an interview with Ian Anderson, Martin Barr, and Jeffrey Hammond, which is really good. It's quite funny. It's very kind of Monty Pythonish. Excellent. Anyways, and there's also a live version on this as well. So you get the disc, the back end of the disc has the interview and this live version of Thick as a Brick, which is, I think it's cut down to about 11 or 12 minutes, but really good. Of course, the album, the original album, had 2 tracks, basically. Actually, it's only really 1 track, but they split it in half. Nowadays, you wouldn't get that. It would have just ended up being 1 track on one side of an album, 45 minutes in length. And now here on this album, it's cut in half. So you get, on the disc, you get it all in one, but on the original vinyl, you would have got side 1, Thick as a Brick, and then side 2, Thick as a Brick again. One of the great kind of progressive albums of all time. And, I really know that they were trying to kind of poke fun of progressive rock and really stick it to people. Like the absurdity of saying that this little boy here in the middle was actually the guy who wrote the song. Obviously, that didn't happen, but the typical Monty Python type skit. So Thick as a Brick, their 5th studio album. Ironically, their next studio album, which is also the same kind of thing, one side for the whole song, is Passion Play. I have never warmed up to this album. I'm not sure if I can. This came out the year after, so 73. Thick as a Brick in 72. This one in 73. Kind of the same idea, a one song giant kind of progressive rock with lots of different noises and lots of different sounds and lots of stuff going on. Engineered by Robin Black, arranged, of course, by Jethro Tull. This album features the solid band of Ian Anderson, Martin Barr, John Evan, Jeffrey Hammond, and Barrymore Barlow, because Ian likes to have extra names on everybody's name. So anyways, I just never warmed up to this album. Maybe that will change at some point, but as it stands right now, it's probably my least favorite of the early albums. Passion Play, that's their 6th studio album. Their 7th studio album, and the last one in my first stack, is this one, War Child. Another great album. And by this point, they're just putting out one great album after another, very Tull-like. I do like the back cover actually a little bit more. All these people playing different stuff here. And then in the front, you got a kind of a 3D or an X-ray video of Ian Anderson. I'm pretty sure that's who that is. Anyways, got some good stuff on this as well. You've got War Child, the title track. You have Skating Away on the Thin Ice of a New Day. Fantastic song. Absolutely. The title aside, the song is great. The only problem with the title is it's way too long and it gives me a headache. And then, of course, Bungle in the Jungle, another big radio favorite. One of my favorites, too. I really like this song. It's one that I sing. I'm always singing this particular track whenever I'm thinking of Tull. And yeah, so you've got some third hurrahs on this, but you've got some bonus stuff on here, too. Some different versions of these songs. Absolutely great. This is a good album. So this is one of the albums that I got much later in the career of my Jethro Tull. So I started with Jethro Tull back in the 90s. Up until that point, I really didn't like them much. Then I got a Masters album. I liked that a lot and started collecting their stuff slowly over the next 10 or 13 years. I think I got Songs from the Wood, Minstrels in the Gallery, Aqualung, Thick as a Brick, all of them in that next 10 or 12 years, but didn't really move on to some of the other stuff until the channel started, and this was one of the first ones, but it's a strong album. So that is their 7th studio album. Now we're going to pull up the second stack. This is, to me, the premium stack. This has all of their best, are among my favorite Jethro Tull albums are in this stack here. So we're going to start out with me getting a drink, first of all. So the first album in this stack is going to be Minstrels in the Gallery. Absolutely killer album. I'm going to tell you this is a top 5 easily for me, probably a top 3 album for me from them. I love every track on here. From Minstrels in the Gallery, the opening track, Cold Wind of Valhalla, fantastic tune. Black Satin Dancer, very underrated, great tune. Requiem is okay as well. One White Duck or Nothing at All. Seem to be getting a... I need a drink. Yeah, so those are all great. Then you get to the Baker Street Muse. This is a very underrated track, if you ask me. People don't talk enough about this track. To me, it's one of the top 4 or 5 tracks that they ever put out. It's a longer track. Some of the instrumentation here is absolutely killer. This is a really good track. And then it ends off with Grace, which is a good ending. Nice, quieter ending to it. But this one also has some bonus stuff, which I like almost as much as the album. Summer Day Sands, one of my favorite Jethro Tull songs. March of the Mad Scientist, Pan Dance. And then you have 2 live versions here. Minstrels in the Gallery and Cold Wind of Valhalla live. Both really, really good. I highly recommend this version of the album. I'm not sure when this came out. I think it was in 2002, so it's a remastered version. The album itself is from 75 and is their 8th studio album. I'm going to have to move one of these stacks or I'll never get anything done. So next up is the one album from that 70s that I've never really listened to much. I think I've gone through it maybe twice. It's new to me. I've never had a great deal of interest in grabbing it, but because I'm a completist and I like to have everything, I decided to get it. And I've not heard a lot of greatness about this album. I don't like the cover much. I don't like the title, the yellow, the kind of too old for rock and roll, too young to die. I never like that. I don't like this color stuff at the back. There's nothing really memorable on here that I know. I've listened to it once. It still didn't really kind of catch with me. So of those early albums, this one, it hasn't really produced anything for me at this stage. Maybe it will, given it a time. I believe this came out in 70. I'm not sure exactly when this one came out. It might have been 76. That seems reasonable to think it came out around then. This is, of course, their 8th studio album. At this point in time, they've been on a pretty solid roll. Next one up is a Masters collection. This came out... well, it came out much later than I'm going to put it in here in this spot. Not because it came out... at this particular time. It didn't come out till much later, like probably in the 90s. But because it refers to all the tracks on the albums that we just did, that's why I put it here in the spot. It's called the Masters, Original Masters. This was my opening salvo from Jethro Tull. This was the first album I owned by them. It's got a lot of really good stuff on it. Living in the Past, Aqualung, Too Old to Rock and Roll, Too Young to Die. That song, I don't mind it, so maybe I might give the album a chance. Locomotive Breath, of course. Skating Away on the Thin Ice of a New Day. A little bit too long. Bungle in the Jungle. So that is the first kind of part of it. And then you got a back part. Sweet Dreams, Songs from the Wood, Witch's Promise, Thick as a Brick, Minstrels in the Gallery, and Life is a Long Song. This has a lot of my favorite Tull songs on it, and that's why I still once in a while pull it out. And that's why I put it where it is, because it's all earlier Tull stuff, nothing later. For next album up, 1977's Songs from the Wood, their 9th studio album. Easily my favorite Jethro Tull album. After doing that Battle of the Masterpiece albums over about a 3-month period, I've determined that this album is amongst my favorite albums of all time. And I think it is in the top 5 now, where before when I had it was always in around about 7th or 8th place, but now it's in the top 5. And I understand why. There are no bad tracks on this album. There's only really good and fantastic tracks. Every track I love here. I look at them and just say, how can you rank these? They're all so good. The one track that I knew when I bought the album was "Songs from the Wood." It's a fantastic track, absolutely killer. But if I was ranking it, it might not even make the top half of the album. There's just so much good here. "Cup of Wonder" and "Hunting Girl" are both absolutely killer tracks. I like both "Jack and the Green" and "Velvet Green," both excellent tracks as well. The one song that people don't talk as much about is "Ring Out Solstice Bells," but I think this is a very underrated track by Jethro Tull and deserves to get that. The vocals are great. The way they presented the song is fantastic. I do kind of like the cover, but it's not one of their better covers. So Jethro Tull's "Songs from the Wood," 1977, number 9. Number 8. Oh, so this is their 10th album, "Heavy Horses." I thought this one might kind of be a challenge for "Songs from the Wood" because it came out almost this, well, it's the same time period, same group of guys, same period, same sounding. Um, you know, within that same realm, but it never really had. It really hasn't dominated for me like I thought it would. There's nothing on here that really overly stands out, but there's nothing bad either. It's all good. It's a solid album, just not as much as I hoped it would be. And then, of course, it has some associate recordings, or as we call bonus tracks, on it too, that are pretty good. So it's a solid Jethro Tull album, their 10th, "Heavy Horses." So I believe that was 1978, or was that 79? I think that was 78. I think the next one is 79. Although it doesn't give any of that here. I'm just guessing as I go along. "Stormwatch," great album. I like this better than "Heavy Horses." Although I like "Heavy Horses," I just think this is a better album. Lots of really strong stuff on here. "The Flying Dutchman" is on here. Great tracks, man. Some really good bass on this as well. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure somebody will. I think this was the last album for John Glasscock. I'm not even sure he's on this particular album, to be honest. It could have been "Heavy Horses." Let me just give a look here. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I think he died on the Heavy Horse after the Heavy Horses album. So, and then Barrymore Barlow also left the band at this point in time too. So, a kind of sad era for Jethro Tull, but this is a fantastic album. Nice cover too. I like it a lot. So that is their 11th studio album. Their 12th studio album, kind of. I don't mind this, but it's not what I thought it was going to be. It really hasn't taken off for me yet. I can see that it probably will at some point. I'm going to give it a chance. It's waiting its turn in my playlist to go into the playlist. I've listened to it maybe a half dozen times. Nothing's really triggered me at this point, but it's I think it'll be a decent album. So it's called A, Jethro Tull A. This is their 12th studio album. Next up, their 13th studio album, one of their best, maybe their last really great album, Broadsword and the Beast. This is their 13th studio album. I believe it was released in 1980 or 81. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. This has Beastie on it. Really great song. Falling on Hard Times, another good one. The Broadsword, fantastic. Watch Me, Watching You. This is a very underrated song. Love it. And Steel Driver, another great song. And then you've got a bunch of bonus tracks: Jack Frost and the Hooded Crow, Jacqueline, too many to, yeah, just got some really strong stuff on this album. The cover is amongst their best covers as well. You've got Ian Anderson dressed as a kind of elf type creature with a broadsword. And then you have each of the members of the band having a head in the corner of the album, kind of the picture of the album. Yeah, really like it a lot. Strong album. Like I said, maybe their last really great album. That's their 13th studio album. And that is it for stack number 2. We are moving on to the final stack. Easily the weakest of the 3 stacks, but still got some good stuff in here. Most bands would kill to have a discography with just these albums alone in it. It does start out kind of poorly, though. Their 14th studio album, Under Wraps, a little bit on the weak side. It's currently the only album not having been in my playlist or even waiting to be in my playlist. I'm not sure that it will make it. We'll see what happens. It's not completely terrible, but it's not a good Jethro Tull album by any stretch. That's number 14. Number 15, they jump up quite a bit here. Crest of a Knave. This was very different for me when I got it. So at this point in time, when I bought this album, I had Songs from the Wood, Minstrels in the Gallery, Aqualung, Not Living in the Past, the Masters album. I also had Thick as a Brick. Those were my previous Jethro Tull albums to this one. This one became like my 5th or 6th one. And it was so different. I didn't take to it right away, I have to admit. And it had almost a Dire Straits sound to it on some of the tracks. Not nearly as, the vocals weren't nearly as strong as I was used to. But I grew to like this. I like everything on here now quite a bit. Steel Monkey, fantastic tune. Jumpstart, another great one. Dogs in the Midwinter. This is a strong, deep cut for them. Budapest, of course, is well known. Mountain Men and Walking on the Edge are both good tracks as well. So, and the cover is good. I like this cover. It's kind of different. It's almost a Jester type thing. Yeah, good album. Jethro Tull's 15th studio album from 1987. Actually, this album won an award for Best Metal Album of the Year, if you can believe that. Beating out Metallica of all bands. Next up is their follow-up to that album a few years later, 2 years later. Rock Island, the current Jethro Tull album in the playlist for me. I'm starting to listen to it. Nothing's really jumped off the page yet at me. I kind of like the Rattlesnake Trail at this point in time, but nothing's really jumped off here. I'm hoping this will be somewhat like Crest of a Knave and just be a time to it kind of takes off for me. I'm hoping that. So this is their 16th studio album, Rock Island. Next up is another one from the same time period. So these are all the late 80s. This one actually from the 90s, but early 90s. Catfish Rising. I didn't mind it. It was okay. I don't think this is going to end up in my top 10 of all time Jethro Tull albums, but I think it's a strong album. It's got some interesting stuff on it. Still Loving You Tonight is good. Occasional Demons, I like that. Like a Tall, Thin Girl, that's pretty good too. Sleeping with the Dog, actually good. So it's pretty strong. I do like the album cover. It's a little bit different. Some people don't like this album. They think it's kind of stupid. I didn't have an issue with it, though. So from 91, their 17th studio album, Catfish Rising. Next up, this one I liked more. So of the albums, the later Jethro Tull albums, this has got to be, other than Crest of a Knave, it's got to be my favorite by them. And that's Roots to Branches. This is a pretty strong album. The cover's very colorful, kind of earthy, I guess. And they've done the same thing on this album that they've done on a couple of these on this one as well, Rock Island, where they've put the lyrics kind of in a circle, so it's not so easy to access. It's a pretty solid album, though. It's nothing It's nothing like their early stuff, but it's still really pretty solid. Yeah, I don't think I really am in the same league as some of the other channels. You were to Brendan Snyder, give him a watch, and then you might change your mind about my stat. He's got like 15,000 albums, and that's just his CDs. He's got a ton of vinyl as well. Yeah, this is a pretty strong album. For a late Jethro Tull album, this is probably the best one of that kind of post 70s era. This and Crest of a Knave, those are two of the ones I like the most. The next one is waiting its turn in my that was their 17th studio album or 18th studio album. This is their 19th studio album, I believe. I think this is their 19th. JethroTull.com. I haven't heard a lot of good reviews about this album. I haven't really listened to it much, 2 or 3 times, and then put it in the waiting list to get onto my playlist, but I haven't heard a lot from it. I don't really like the cover. It's kind of weird. It's almost like a goat god or something like that. Anyways, curious to find out if I'm going to like this or not. This was released in 99, their 19th studio album. The next album is the only one I don't have, which is their Christmas album. That's their 20th studio album. Came out in 2001, I believe, if I'm correct. But I don't have it, so I can't make any comments about it, and I won't. So the next 3 are their most recent albums. So after about a 20-year hiatus, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. More than likely, this collection will belong to my daughter, and I've already told her that there is the record store that I go to would be more than willing to purchase the whole set for a set price. So I think she'll be happy with that to get some money. Yeah, I haven't seen, to be honest, Ben, I have not seen the Christmas album yet. And he just bought a set from a person that passed away. It was about 4,000 albums, and it was jammed with Jethro Tull stuff, but didn't have the Christmas album. And I was kind of hoping it might have had it, but somebody else might have beat me to it. Yeah, maybe that might be the case. I don't know. It's a kind of a strange looking album. Yeah, I'll be looking for it. I like to get it because it's the only one I don't have, and I like to have the complete set of everything, even if I don't necessarily like it. So now we'll talk about the final 3. These 3 came out. So Jethro Tull went through a 20-year hiatus where they toured, did a little bit of stuff together, but they really didn't release anything. And they weren't alone. A lot of bands did that because the music industry was in turmoil. There was no upside to producing more albums, so people just got kind of away from it. But it's kind of come back a little bit, and it started for them with this album, The Zealot Gene. Cover aside, this is a pretty solid album. Of the 3 most recent ones, I think I like this one the best. This has the 4 opening tracks, Mrs. Tidbits, Jacob's Tale, Mine is the Mountain, and The Zealot Gene. All really good, solid stuff. And they've rewritten their music. At this point in time, they rewrote the music so that it would fit Ian Anderson's vocals, which are more like talking vocals now. They're not really singing vocals. This is pretty good. I don't really know why he decided to put himself on the cover without a shirt on. Doesn't really make any sense, but he did. But the album itself, pretty solid by Jethro Tull standards. I think it can beat out quite a few of his albums, and that's their 21st. The 22nd was this one, which came out in 2023, so a couple of years ago. This wasn't bad either. I thought it was okay. It was kind of a singular type album on a theme. So if you want a concept album, the cover's not too bad. It follows a theme that I'm quite familiar with, which is Norse mythology, and talks about the different parts of that, such as about his Hammer Magelner of Wolf, the Wolf, Fenner the Wolf, a few other things going on here. It kind of talks about Ragnarok. So, of course, that's why it's called, well, this is actually Rock Float, but it's about Ragnarok. So it's a pretty strong album. I don't like it as much as a Zealot Gene, but it's still not bad. No, it's not a ranking. I'm just talking about the tracks in general, how I feel about the albums. I'm not doing a ranking until I've listened to the entire discography and given it a fair shake. Because some of these I will change. This is their most recent album, of course, Curious Remnant. Was in my playlist for a while. It did well with me initially when I got it, but it didn't really hold up after. They've added a couple new people to at least one new person. I think Jack Clark on electric guitar here. So yeah, and Andrew Giddings is on here with playing some piano as well. So it's pretty good instrumentally, no doubt about it. Not as good a album, I think, as Zealot Gene either, but pretty strong. That could change given some time. All three of these last three albums didn't get as much time as some of the other stuff, so it's difficult to kind of say how they will end up initial rank. So when I do the ranking, I will do it when I'm comfortable with all of their discography, and then I'll do the ranking, and then it should be more representative of how I really feel about it. Some of these albums haven't really had a fair shake. Jethro.tull.com, Old as Rock and Roll, but Young Enough to Die. Some of the newest stuff as well as, what was that one covered? Yeah, the first one in the stack, this one Under Wraps. These haven't had a fair shake yet. So, and Rock Island hasn't really had a fair shake. So once I've given those albums a fair listen to and a fair shake, then I will do a ranking of them. But it's almost certain that most of the top 10 or so will be from the 70s. Kind of understandable when you consider how dominant the band was in the 70s and how great some of their music was. I'm not even sure myself how this is going to go. I have a feeling I kind of know the top 2 or 3 might be and who might make the top 10, but really I don't know what will happen in the middle of the pack is really where I'm not sure it's going to go. There's a couple of albums in that middle that I think could actually end up much higher up than they are. So when I do the ranking, it'll probably be just before Christmas. That's my kind of goal. By then, every album should have had a good chance and a good amount of time. So that's it. That's it for my entire collection of Jethro Tull, which, as you can see, pretty much spans the entire history of the band, going back to 1969. I think they were actually together in 1958 too. So you're looking at about 57 years of history. Now, of course, the only member who's been on every Tull album has been Ian Anderson, although Martin Barr has been on a vast majority of the albums, just nothing in recent years, that's all. Yep, so a great band. They're my second favorite band of all time. About a year ago, they passed both Genesis and Yes and moved into second place. No regrets about it. It's basically the reason that they took that long to get that far up in the list is because I had so many of their albums that I hadn't actually listened to, that once I started listening to those albums, I realized the band deserved to be higher up than they were. And I think they went from about 6th spot when I started the channel up to 2nd. There's not much of a chance they'll go higher than that. No chance to catch Rush. Rush is too far ahead of everybody. It's not even close, really. And even though Rush hasn't made an album in like 20 or almost 15 years now, or 13 years since the last one. And it doesn't really matter. There's more to Rush than just their albums. If you were just going to rank my favorite band by their albums, maybe Rush wouldn't be in the top spot, but they're there for a lot of other reasons too, and that's the way as it should be. The problem I find with Yes too is that they've released a lot of albums since the 1980s onward. So I think up until about Drama, I think Drama was like their 10th, maybe their 11th studio album. And they have like 23 studio albums. So those back 12 aren't nearly as strong as the front half of Yes. So Yes, to me, really hasn't released a fantastic album in like 40, 45 years. So it's hard to keep a band in the number 2 spot with a record like that. And Genesis is kind of the same, but maybe they're not. Like maybe their stuff isn't as bad as some of the Yes stuff that's come out, but they're kind of more middle. They don't really have anything terrible. Like Yes has had some terrible albums, but they also don't have anything that's really super kind of possible to make a big jump up, at least in my opinion. Yeah. Well, good luck with your dental appointment, Ben. Take care. I don't envy you that. That's the one place I do never want to go again. I don't think anybody who likes going to see the dentist has got problems, if you ask me. Take care, Ben. Thanks for joining. So it's just me and you, Grandizer. You got the whole show to yourself. Yeah, I think that is actually from 91, that album. I remember buying it in the 90s and seeing that it was from 91. Yeah, maybe there was an earlier version, but I don't know for sure. But I think that's when it came out. Could be wrong. So that is my Jethro Tull collection. I hope that, hey, Wade, thanks for joining us. Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't think there's a lineup of people rather listen to Jethro Tull or go to the dentist. I think we know where that's going to end up, right? So welcome to the show, Wade. I've just covered my entire Jethro Tull collection. It wasn't a ranking show. We just going through them chronologically. And when I have finally listened to them all in a fair amount of time, there's 2 or 3 of them I haven't listened to a lot. So once I get that done, and there's one I actually don't have, which is the Christmas album. But once I get that album and I've listened to all of them pretty fair amount of time, I will do an album ranking of Jethro Tull, who are, for those of you who just came in, Wade, are my second favorite band. They moved into that spot sometime in the beginning of last year, or maybe the beginning of the year before now. Maybe it's a couple of years. I'm not sure. Yeah, you can check it back later when I post this video. You'll be able to go back and see what I thought of the albums. Now, Jethro Tull is one of the bands that has had some very, very strong albums over the years. Most of the stuff in the 70s, but they did have albums since the 70s that I thought were very strong. A couple in the 80s, maybe 2 or 3 in the 80s, maybe 1 or 2 in the 90s. Maybe since the 90s they've been average. At least the last 3 have been good, but I wouldn't put them in the masterpiece album category, but they're all pretty solid albums. I think I prefer the Zealot Gene to the other 2, but yeah, pretty strong. So that would and I also did a couple of I have a couple of collection albums. One's an original masters, which I got in the 90s. That was my first Jethro Tull album. And then, of course, Living in the Past, which is a collection of songs off of their first 3 or 4 or 5 albums. Can't remember how many. I think it was the first 3 or 4, though. And then some B-sides and some stuff that was never actually released on an album, which is great. My favorite Jethro Tull song, which is sorry, I can't even remember what I'm talking about. Let's just look it up. It's right here. Don't have to go far. It's the Life is a Long Song, which is my favorite Tull song. Wasn't actually ever on any of their studio albums. Sorry about that. Sorry to hear that, Grandizer. Yeah, you might be wrong. Maybe it is. Maybe it is an '89, but I'm pretty sure that it came out in the '90s. I bought it when it was fairly new too. So actually, it's right here. I could just look it up, see what it says on it. Neil Young visiting Jethro Tull on the set. Yeah, this one album is Freedom. And yeah, you're right. It is '89. I don't know why I was always thought it was in the '90s. For some reason, thought it was like '92. But maybe that's when I got it. That might have been when I got it. That makes perfect sense to me. So '89, but this is a very good album. One of my favorite Neil Young albums. It's got the two "Rockin' in the Free World" of versions, the acoustic version and the heavy version, and they bookend the rest of the album. A lot of good stuff in here. One of my favorite songs is on here, Someday. One of my favorite Neil Young songs. It's the one about Erwin Rommel, the desert fox. Gotta like that. Anyway, so that's my my Tull collection. And one more album and I'll have completed it, and that definitely will come. I have only complete discographies from Genesis, Yes, and Rush. Those are the only three I have the entire complete discographies. I'm missing albums from, actually Pink Floyd. No, I don't. I'm missing one album from Pink Floyd, a couple albums from The Who, maybe 3 or 4 albums from Styx, and who am I missing? Peter Gabriel. I have all of Gabriel's stuff except for the most recent album, which is I/O or IO, whatever you want to call it. I don't have that one. And he has quite a few what they would call soundtracks. I have a couple of them, but I don't have all of them either. So other than that, I have mostly most of my group of 9. I have almost everything. Black Sabbath, I'm missing the Tony Martin era, all 4 of them, but I have everything else. But I have none of the Tony Martin era. The only reason I don't have any is because they never have any. I'm not paying $25 for an album that I may or may not like. There's a couple of his albums I'm pretty sure I won't like, but there's a couple of his albums I think I will like. So we will see. Eventually, I'll have all the Sabbath too, because those bands. I've got most of the Iron Maiden stuff. I've got most of the Judas Priest stuff, or maybe I'm missing like 4 or 5 from each of them. Is that a song from something I don't know? Probably. I don't know who that's from. I don't recognize the lyrics. Okay, that makes sense. That explains why I saw it on the new stack in the '90s. Kind of confused me there for a minute. Yeah, sometimes we don't get the albums that are released in the UK and Britain until years later, or sometimes a long time later. The case of Nectar's Tab in the Ocean, it was almost 4 years before it was released after its original release in the States in 1976. Yeah, I enjoyed the since I've been on the channel, I've enjoyed doing the collecting the entire Jethro Tull. When it came on the channel, I had 1 greatest hits and 5 studio albums, and now I've got the entire collection within the last 4 years. Okay, that makes sense. We tend to be a little slow up here. Yeah, I'm happy now, like, enjoying doing this channel too, because it when I'm out now, there's so many more bands that I never even heard of before, and now I'm at the record store, and the guy will be playing something, and he'll say, "Yeah, I know that. That's off of this album or that album." Where before, I thought I had a pretty extensive collection when I had about 400 vinyl albums back in the '80s, so I thought I knew most of the bands out there. Just goes to show you, there is so much stuff out there. In fact, I actually believe there's more stuff released now than there's ever been released in rock, like new stuff coming out. If you were to total up the number of new albums that came out this year, I bet you it exceeds any year from the '70s and '80s. No, probably he wouldn't. He's definitely from California. I doubt he appreciates anything that goes on that has anything to do with war, although, who knows. Yep. I like that stuff. So it's been good. I've enjoyed having the collection. I enjoy doing this channel. I have still a stack of stuff right there. Was that there? The other side over there. And the camera angle is reversed. So all the stuff on that one at the top there. Oh, sorry, I'm wrong again. I was right the first time. I'm backwards. That's what it is. So that stack up there is all stuff I haven't even had a chance to listen to yet. There's about 15 or 20 albums up there. It might even be more. It might be like closer to 30 of stuff I just haven't had time to listen to. So eventually I will get to them all. I try to fit them in with my playlist rotation. So I'll have my playlist stack, the stuff I'm doing for the week, and if I'm doing a run, which I was doing the AC/DC run, I finished that. I also am doing the 10cc run because Ben put me onto them. And then any new stuff I fit in with the playlist stuff. So I'll do 3 playlist albums and I'll throw a new one in. That way I get everything done. But these people that say they can listen to 20 albums a day, I don't think so. Yeah, Buffalo, I'm hoping that I'm planning a move next summer, my retirement move. It's back down to where I come from, which is Fort Erie, but I'm not going to move to Fort Erie, probably to Port Colborne. And I'll be able to cross the border again like I used to and hopefully get some stuff that way. Probably cheaper that way too, I think. Yep. Uh, so yeah, so it's an enjoyable hobby, but it's an expensive one. Trust me, I'm spending mostly what I clear every week on stuff. Well, I did do a my top 10 favorite Jethro Tull songs, but that was some time ago, like maybe 3 years ago. I'm almost certain that the list would be completely changed now. I don't think songs from the wood. Sorry, I don't think "Life Is a Long Song" would have lost the top spot though. It's still my favorite Jethro Tull song. There's a couple of tracks on "Minstrels in the Gallery" that "Cold Wind of Valhalla," "Summer Day Sands." Both these are fantastic tunes. Uh, Baker Street Muse, another great tune off of that album. Songs from the Wood, of course, probably would have most of the stuff with Hunting Girl, Cup of Wonder, Solstice Bells, Velvet Green. All these are great tracks. Fat Man, another great track. Uh, Mother Goose, uh, Cross-Eyed Mary, Locomotive Breath. Uh, great tracks as well. Could go on and on with naming stuff from that time period. I do like Steel Monkey off of Crest of a Knave as well. Another really great track. A couple great tracks on Stormwatch. I'm just not as familiar with the names of them right now. I'd have to go and look. In fact, we have it here, don't we? Probably in the middle stack. So let's see if we can find it. Yeah, Stormwatch has some really good stuff. Not Stormwatch, Broadsword and the Beast. Well, I do like both of those albums pretty evenly. But there's one particular track. I think it might be on Stormwatch. I'm not sure. Maybe Orion. That could be one of them. That could be the song. I'm not sure. I think it's Orion, though. Sounds like it. Yeah, I have done a video. If you want to go back and look at my 10 favorite Jethro Tulls. I did a lot of those early on. 10 favorite tracks because I wanted to do them again later and see how much has changed over the years. Yeah, I used to do. I still do that. I use the CD player to play stuff while I'm cleaning and cooking, and that's probably my favorite time of listening to the music. The only other time is sometimes when I'm reading at the end of the day, and I will go on the internet and plug in my headphones into my Chromebook and listen to whatever's there. That's how I'm listening to the 10cc collection right now. Got some interesting stuff. It's a little sugary poppy, but it's not that bad. It's pretty interesting stuff. So everybody, I'm going to have to close off for tonight. It's coming up on, I think it's over the hour part, and I got one more video I want to make for the morning before I go to bed. And I'm happy that you all came and joined me here today on Into the Progverse on my Jethro Tull collection. I will set up the next episode for next Sunday as well. I've done away with the other two live streams. I find it too hard to do them in the middle of the week, so decided that I would go back to just my video parts. Got a new couple video shows coming this week, so hopefully people will enjoy the new stuff as well. Yeah, maybe that's true. I prefer the CDs mostly because I can listen to whatever I want whenever I want. I don't have to worry about the internet shutting down. I don't have to worry about losing my entire collection. And I don't really like giving away money for nothing. It's just not mine. I like having the physical collection. When I'm lying there reading books, I can look up and see all my CDs, and it makes me feel good. Yeah, thanks, Wade, for showing up. I appreciate your support of the channel. It's great. And I hope to see you all guys all next week. I'm going to be putting up my next topic for next Sunday's Into the Progverse. And I'm going to be starting another show next Saturday called, basically it's going to be about the progressive rock stuff that's come out in the current month that I'm doing it in. So the end of the month. So we'll be doing whatever's new that's come out in the month of August. I'm going to talk a little bit about 3 or 4 of the albums, or 5 of them, and maybe all of them. I'm not sure. It's not going to be like What's New, where I actually do a kind of review of a particular album, but it will be something where we'll talk a little bit more about the stuff. Anyways, I thank you all for coming. I want to thank you for supporting the channel, and we will be back next Sunday with another Into the Progverse. Actually, we'll probably set up the next one after I'm done this. So take care. Have yourself a good evening, and goodbye from Prog Monster. It'd be nice if this thing worked right.